to our Pivot and Progress podcast. And I'm very excited for today's episode, which is going to delve deep into the most common topic that's being discussed around the world today, which is how is AI impacting different workforces, different career paths, different industries. But we are specifically targeting one of the industries which is currently experiencing a lot of change, a lot of paradigm shift in how it works, how it delivers its work to its clients, which is consulting. So we have two really experienced professionals working in different types of companies. Backstage, I'll be bringing them up to the stage. But the topic that we are going to focus on is how do you leverage AI to advance your both technology as well as strategy consulting career. So without further ado, I will bring our speakers here. Hi Saurabh, hi Ayush. Welcome again. How are you both doing?
Yeah, Arjun.
Hello, hi. I'm doing good. How about you?
All good, all good. Thanks again for making time for this, guys. And I know there's a lot happening in consulting right now, especially with regard to how AI is optimizing workflows, output quality, and everything else that's at stake here. So we'll try to get to that as soon as possible. Just before we do that, maybe we'll do a quick round of intros. So I can go first in case people don't know me. So hi everyone, my name is Arjun. I'm the founder of Pivot, and what we do here is help mid to senior level professionals achieve different types of career goals when they are transitioning, right? So you could be changing your not just your company but your industry. You could be changing your level in the organization or even your country, right? These are the different types of inflection points that we help people with. I have myself spent my career in both consulting as well as in entrepreneurial roles currently at Pivot, and I worked both in US as well as in India. Yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to Ayush first. Ayush, welcome again, and if you can just share a little bit about your background and what you do today, that would be great.
All right, so my name is Ayush Agarwal. I am currently working in ASML. For those who don't know, ASML is the only company that produces machine to manufacture chips. It's the kind of a monopoly in its technology. And I have been working as in consulting industry for more than 12 years now. Started with data analytics, then digital transformation strategy, and currently AI also is a big part of, like you mentioned. So AI is getting integrated into consulting environment, and I have worked across industries and domains. So you can think about supply chain, pharma. So I worked across industries and across different domains. And thank you for having me here. Looking forward for a nice discussion.
Great, thanks, Ayush. Over to Saurabh. Saurabh, could you please help us, with your background and a little bit about what you do today?
Yeah. Uh, so I have spent initial years of my career with Gartner. If you don't know Gartner, Gartner is a leading research firm which produces reports which help organizations do consulting and advise clients. Then I moved towards more front end role, which was at PwC, and then I landed in strategy consulting. So I've been here for a while now and working across industries and working across geographies to help clients strategize how they look at IT or how they look at tech or how they look at their finance processes.
Hmm.
We have been leveraging. Today's topic is quite interesting because we have been leveraging AI up to quite a good extent now, and we would like to I think impart that kind of knowledge to the other to others so that they are able to build a better portfolio. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So I think we can, get into the actual meat of the discussion. I think let's start with a more of a bird's eye view because we want to just set the stage for people who might be relatively new to how to leverage AI in consulting. Um, there are majority of trends that are being discussed right now. I think entail AI, building AI agentic systems, also how work is being delivered to clients of your consulting companies, and obviously what part should be outsourced, what part should be kind of still retained by humans and several other things. So what I want to do is you take a high level overview of the key factors right now that are shaping the this paradigm shift that's happening within consulting from an AI perspective. If you could maybe structure by highlighting the top three factors, that would be great. And Ayush, we'll start with you. So, what do you think
Yeah.
are the major three factors that are, causing the most amount of change right now within consulting?
So I think the first and major most would be, let's say, the initial consulting time. So because when we used to do, let's say, a consulting project for any client, so usually the initial phase would be between 8 to 12 weeks for the discovery part. But and majority of that part for 8 to 12 weeks was spent on data analysis, data gathering, doing the research. And because of AI, that part has become much more efficient and much more leaner. So then clients expect to finish those discovery part in much lesser time. And directly linked to that point is the number of analysts required to do those discovery parts. So let's say uh, typically in a consulting, you have a pyramid kind of a model where you have your partners, then your considered consultants, then your junior consultants. So if, and then majority of the heavy lifting on the analytics, analysis, and research was done by the junior analyst and the junior consultants. Now, because this has become much more efficient, so eventually the pyramid model is going to crumble. And that is something that companies might have to see how are they going to take that as a change. And I think based on that, the third would be the business model. The business model has been changing over a while, so it's not suddenly because of AI that this has changed, but this has become more concrete that instead of selling hours, the consulting now needs to sell outcomes. So we just cannot say that we're going to do a discovery and we're going to bill you this much and then we'll see what the next steps are. No. So right now, the customers also want specific outcome from the discovery. What will be the, let's say, expected savings in terms of efficiencies, in terms of capex, opex, and then they want it in a very concrete way. So for me, I think these are the three major changes that I see happening right now.
Got it. Yeah, no, I think very well structured, Ayush, and I think all three make intuitive sense. Sort of same question for you. What are the points that you would add to what Ayush has shared over here?
Yeah, I think Ayush covered it well, but two things that I can think of is definitely what we offer, right? That has changed a lot. Initially, I mean, I could see that lately most of our proposals are around AI or around how can clients take value out of AI, and almost every project has at least a part of a small part wherein we try to recognize AI use cases in the client process and how they can improve it. The second, like the first we cover is what we offer, and the second is how we deliver. Right, that has changed a lot because using tools like Claude, using tools like Cursor, we have been changing it. There's a paradigm shift in how we deliver things because initially I think for an associate or at a junior level, most of the time used to be spent creating PowerPoints,
Mhm.
maybe creating repetitive Excel models or sheets. But now it
Mhm.
has shifted to more complex tasks because the easy ones are taken care by maybe ChatGPT or Claude. Even more difficult tasks are being taken up by Claude now. Like for example, if you want to build a financial model for a client, you can just simply use Claude. Obviously, you need a manual review, but yeah, that's I think those are the two things that are changing as to what I think, what we offer, and how we deliver. Yeah.
Got it. So let's do a bit of a deep dive into that. Ayush, actually, some of the things that you mentioned, I just wanted to understand those better for especially audience who's kind of just getting into utilizing AI for their consulting work. So you talked about the the speed of work and kind of how much time it takes, not just for research, but as Saurabh is pointing out, for delivery as well. Um, in terms of the speed, I mean, that is definitely something that is there. But what is the average reduction in time? Is there something that companies are targeting specifically, that's saying, okay, earlier we were spending 12 weeks for research, today it's going to take 1 week to 2 weeks? Or is it still very new and context dependent?
I
Yeah,
think it
good.
is still very new, so there is no standard as of set as of now. And the reason
Mhm.
for that is it depends on the kind of data, the kind of material that is there, both on the client side and both on the interview company side. For example, like Saurabh mentioned, right? So there are how do we create those proposals? So a lot of time is spent in creating those PPTs, in collecting those materials from the previous proposals or what company is offering now, and then collating them at one place. If you as a company have all those materials or all that data well placed in an environment, then it becomes much easier for you to create those offerings or create those PPTs. Similar from the client side, if they have the correct systems in place, whatever systems they are using, from which it's easy to extract the data, and if they are using multiple platforms, then is there a better connection between them so that the accuracy of the data can be maintained? If that's the case, then using AI makes your life much more easier, and what could have been done in maybe 12 weeks can be reduced in 4 weeks. So almost one third. But
Hmm.
then if the data is messy, the environments are chaotic, then there is still a lot of manual effort needed to clean those up, and then you use AI, and then it can be 8 weeks still.
Hmm.
So at at the moment, because uh, the use cases that are being developed, or let's say the initial companies which are going to accept AI and started implementing them, the, so there's still, let's say, a lot of work to be done before we can create some standardization. At least that's what, as per my experience.
Okay. Okay. Sort of my question to you is more around the output, as opposed to just the speed of delivery. Obviously, workflow process optimization and, more agile delivery, that is something that, we are going to continue discussing. But the, real question that a lot of clients are asking, and I think Ayush also sort of referenced it, is the outcome orientation of the projects, right? It's not just about billing your time always anymore. It's also about like how is AI actually impacting the achievement of the goals that your clients are trying to achieve, right? Or delivering better quality work so that the client has to do less grunt work at their end, for example. So, what are you seeing in that respect happening currently? How consultants are utilizing AI not just to do more efficient work, but to deliver better quality of work?
Yeah, I think I think there is. I think to answer that question very straight, I heard a very nice statement. Your answer or your output of Claude or any AI tool is just as good as your prompt, right? So I have seen few people making very novice mistake, that and this comes at the start of their careers, wherein you are using AI tool, and you're not providing the AI tool a specific context or a specific role to play, and then you're expecting a quality output out of it, which you don't get. So secondly, when you get an output, you'll have to rework on it, or you'll have to spend more tokens and give it to Claude again. So
Mhm.
one thing regarding output, I think AI has a great capability. AI tools like Claude, they have great capability. You have to use the right model, you have to use the right amount of thinking, and you have to give them context. You have to give them good prompts so that they can give you better output. I think that's the way you can get better and better outputs of deliverables from AI. and then it will reduce the manual work that comes after it. Because see, bottom line, your work will not go away. Even if you are having AI output, your work won't go away. For example, excel crunching is such a skill which will never go away. I mean, even if we get formulas, even if we can give scenarios to Claude and we get formula, but at the end of the day, the debugging and most of this stuff has to be done by you only. So I think data crunching is very important, because we have seen that the client's data is very very complicated, and it's not easy for you to give it to Claude the whole of context that what you were talking about in the meetings. It's very
Right.
difficult. That is why
Yeah.
I think it boils down to how good you can summarize it for the tool. Plus, I think your core skills, which are about Excel, which are like a logic and Excel crunching, these things. So together, put this. I think to answer your question, we put this together and get a better output out of, and deliver a better output to the client.
Yeah. No, I think with regard to the data point, even Ayush to some extent was pointing that out. And sort of that is helpful because I think it's kind of like pointing out a key, blind spot or kind of common pitfall perhaps in how companies are utilizing AI towards, improving the output is not giving the better input, which I think is more of an individual level strategy, right? Like how you give input perhaps. Ayush, one question before we move on to the next sort of subtopic here.
Yep.
What do you think? What have you seen are the common blind spots that consultants have right now when they are adopting AI? Are there like some common don'ts that you see? Hey, we've done this a certain way, but typically it's not worked in the expected manner. So we should be changing that.
So I'll answer that from 2 points of view. So from a consultant's point of view, the don't which I see and which I think a lot of companies, at least consulting companies, uh, do wrong is that they try to sell AI as a cherry on the cake. So whenever they are selling to the clients, so that let's say every company has developed their own use cases, and they show it as let's say AI is gonna do magic overnight, and they usually sell it like that. That we're gonna sell you these services, we're gonna do this for you, and then we also give you AI, and then AI will give you this. But then companies, let's say companies who are let's say are in the process of digital transformation or in any transition, for them it's not easy to understand how do we going to adopt that, or how are we going to use it in the long run, or how is it AI is going to benefit us and not let's say hamper our jobs. So that is one thing where from the consulting point of view is a big don't. Let's say we should not sell AI like that.
Mhm.
And from a customer's perspective, I think a lot of companies, they either don't completely believe in AI, or they let's say partially believe in AI. And hence, let's say at least from the leadership point of view, if there is a strong conviction that we are going to achieve AI or adopt AI, but then in the middle layer, the conviction is not that high. And that is the reason where let's say top executives, let's say the CEO, the CFO, or CIO, they really want to adopt. But then in the middle layer is where you get a lot of heat, or let's say pushbacks, where they are not convinced enough. So let's say these are the two, let's say, opposite side of the same coin. But then I think that those are the areas those are the where blind spots are.
Okay. Okay. No, fair enough. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's very helpful. The next thing that I want to dive into, and this is a question we get pretty often from aspiring consultants or existing consultants, that what are the new skills that I should actually be learning when it comes to AI? So there is obviously, I think Saurabh, you pointed this out that there are going to be certain skills that continue to remain important. Perhaps Excel modeling, for example, and data analysis is going to continue as that. But have you seen any other skills apart from prompting AI, which are becoming more and more in demand at tier one consulting firms, especially when we move beyond, let's say, just typical data research, putting the presentation together, and then presenting it to the client in meetings. Beyond that, what else are we seeing right now that's become the core skill requirement for mid-level candidates in the market today? Saurabh, we can start with you on this one.
Yeah. So I think in I'll talk about delivery in a minute, but let's move to reinvest. For example, let's move to business development, because as a uh, mid-level at mid-level roles, you need to assist partners, you need to assist directors to to create proposals and sell engagements, right? I think i think with AI having helping you creating proposals and speeding up the process of building point of views or perspectives, what's left is how can you add value to business development, right? Now, when it comes to business development, you can help partner identify the opportunities, basically how you cross sell things. For example, you have one engagement and then you are looking for an extension of the same engagement. What partner would appreciate is that you identify opportunities based on your conversation and understanding of the client's data, because you're more closer to the data than the partner himself is, right? So for example, in our last engagement, we saw that there is an opportunity for us to sell a service desk consolidation engagement, right? There is no way Claude would have done that. The reason is because we never asked Claude, or we would never ask Claude to do that.
Hmm.
Whenever we give it the data, we would never ask it. So I think, summing this up, I think I am talking about thinking out of the box here, right? Out of the box in the sense, not just thinking about delivering what you are expected to, but going above and beyond and thinking about how can we do, like, give like a cherry on the cake so that it
Hmm.
helps the partner sell more engagement and bring more money to the company. I think that's on the proposal part. On the delivery part, one skill that we are definitely, I think, discovering is how we storyline decks, right? Because I have seen that. I mean, I have seen that whenever there are outputs of AI tools which gives us decks, and it has a very nice storyline, but how you connect the storyline together and put it in the context of the client is very important, right? So
Hmm.
I think those are not very well spoken skills about, but I think those are very niche skills which we have been seeing in the industry in my experience.
Can you give an example of that second one, sort of like where, let's say, you can give us a sort of before and after, right? Like before AI and after AI, like what was the difference that you were able to see in the storylining of the deck or the concoction of that deck part or delivery of the work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not very difficult to come up with an example, because we do that on a daily basis and we come across this on a daily basis. Just I think just last week we were working on a proposal, and we were helping client how they can we were basically creating a proposal to help client how they can improve their annual operating planning process regarding the finance and IT projects, right? I know, like, there was a output of AI, even after giving good amount of prompts, or good amount of raw data or raw notes or transcripts from the client conversations. It kind of gave a framework which was not fitting well into the two slides, because I think we were talking about three different frameworks in the same, like, in the five slides, right?
Mhm.
Which would confuse the client. It would definitely work with us because they are consultants, but as clients they are not doing this on a daily basis. For example, if you're talking about banks, right, their job is not to understand how IT projects are intake, prioritized, funded. Their job is to actually do the projects, right? And we are here to help them how to do that process and how to make that process efficient. So we, as consultants, it's our job to make it easy for them to understand what are the process frameworks. So
Hmm.
if, for example, if before, the before was that AI gave us a more complicated process for which we thought, we knew that the client is away from this IT process and he wouldn't understand it. We simplified it to just two frameworks and then ran it through the client and it worked well.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for that, sort of very helpful. So, Ayush, the question within the skill topic for you is, can you
Yeah.
help me understand how the top consultants who are more like, let's say, ahead of the curve of the industry on how they are adopting AI versus the
Mhm.
laggard consultants who are majority of consultants, I would say. So majority of consultants, what I understand, they're using AI like a search engine, right? Similar to Google prompting, trying to
Yeah.
get answers. But what do you see these top AI native consultants do differently than just prompting and trying to do similar things that they were doing previously on Google?
Yeah. So a lot of people, or the maximum understanding of AI right now is it's like a chatbot. So people ask questions and they get answers.
Mhm.
And then the next level is, let's say you build your own, let's say, custom platform. You will have, let's say, given input your directory or whatever folders you have all the data in, and you build a chatbot on top of it, and then yeah, it's a custom based on the team or the company or what department, whatever it is. A lot of, let's say, consultants who are ahead of the curve, they are actually using AI, or let's say the agentic AI bots to automate their work. So automation is not a new topic. So automation has been there for years now, and there have been, let's say, a lot of different tools which have been helping different departments like finances or supply chain, automating their lot of manual processes over the years. And
Mhm.
then the way I look at AI right now is those processes can further be automated. The let's say the error rate can further be reduced through AI. So every of those automation companies have now a lot of the bigger ones have their own, let's say, built-in AI agents. All you need to do is identify your process, identify from where to where you want to plug in, and then yeah, they actually give you, let's say, the gaps in your process and how they can be reduced. So a lot of companies right now are focusing on using those AIs to identify gaps in the processes. I can give you a couple of examples. So for one of the clients, so they were looking at, let's say, okay, so they had customers who would, let's say, have different payment terms, right? So some companies had 60 days of payment terms, some had 90 days of payment term. And then even if the company is same, based on different geography, the payment terms were different. And then, yeah, if you do it, let's say, manually, it would take some time to identify the gaps. So all we had to do was put all the different, terms and conditions of payment from different customers in the AI, and then ask, like, where are we losing money, and what's the best outcome. So at the end, almost 35 million of money was expected to be saved if the payment terms were met. And for companies having different geographies, if we, let's say, have standardized payment terms, then further 20 million could have been, let's say, added to the workflow. So,
Wow.
and that was just one simple terms, right? So if companies are looking at, let's increase their workflow or improving their capex opex, if we start looking at different processes, there's a lot of savings or money to be added. So this was just one of the case studies or analysis that we did, and I mean, even I was not very, let's say, confident initially with the results, but then we further deep dived and eventually, let's say, confirmed that yeah, these are actually making sense.
Yeah, no, that's very good to hear because I think a lot of times, we are hearing right now there's a bit of skepticism in the market around AI's impact from a, core outcome achievement perspective. Like a lot of times companies are holding back on spending more and more tokens for the, frontier model, saying like it's just increasing our costs without delivering the outcome. But I think hearing the, specific like cost saving initiatives or value creation initiatives, I think that is something that is really really important right now for
So
AI to. Yeah.
I think where the skepticism is coming from is that companies have rolled out, let's say, licenses and has given it to, let's say, 100 or 500 employees in the company, but they have, let's say, not fully able to uh, train them properly, right? So how do you actually use AI, when to use AI? And then I wanted to add this to the answer of Saurabh that one of the key skills is awareness about AI. So a lot of people are asking random questions to AI or very basic questions to AI. And then at the end, because the companies are paying license fees, it's just adding up the tokens. It's adding to their cost. And then the company says, okay, I'm now going to block or limit the usage. So blocking or limiting the usage is not the answer. It's creating an awareness and training your, let's say, people how and when to use AI.
Yeah.
So if so that is very important. Eventually, if the people are not trained enough or know enough, then their usage will be, let's say, limited. And eventually, if you block the usage, then the whole, let's say, the mindset changes, right? So if you say, okay, some people are going to use it, some people are not going to use it. Eventually, the whole, let's say, the vision or mission of AI adoption will go away. So
Hmm.
companies, let's say, should try to focus on creating that awareness and also training their people. And of course, a lot of these times, of course, you have trainings online, you have in company trainings, and there are multiple materials available. And me myself, when I was new into the world of AI, and I was watching videos after videos online, different platforms, and then even I was a bit confused in which direction to go. But then eventually, okay, with the help of some guidance from mentors and seniors, I was able to, find some path to, let's say, learning path. So I think that is also one of the challenges as a company where, let's say, the HR and the training team and the change management team should come together and find the
Hmm.
best strategy that people are well equipped to use AI.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's kind of like a collaborative thing, not just an individual thing, especially when you're working in a firm, in a consulting firm, so that people are using it in the most effective and kind of consistent manner. Because if 10 consultants are using it this way, 50 others are using
Yeah.
that way, and cause a lot of difference and discrepancy. Sort of my follow-up question on skills to you before we move on to the next thing is. Um, we are talking mostly about AI and AI related skills, but given that there's a lot of focus on leveraging AI already, and we are also primarily talking about it, I have a slightly different question. What human centric skills do you think have become the most important in the AI driven world, which you would say that companies are prioritizing those even more than they used to earlier before AI?
Yeah, I think so. Just in addition to what Ayush said, it's a very nice shift from AI skills to human centric skills. And I would like to start with number one is the awareness of AI. Now, I know it looks like an AI skill, but it's not. Awareness of how to use AI is actually a human skill, right? It's actually a soft skill. The reason is because if I'm trying to, it's not. it's not bad if you ask AI easy questions, right? It's okay. AI is at your disposal. You can ask easy questions, but know that the model that you're trying to ask is burning more and more tickets for you. So you select a lesser model and then ask those questions. In that way, you're not burning a lot of dollars and you are getting your answers very efficiently and very properly, right? So selecting that kind of model and that kind of, I would say, that kind of thinking is very important, and that kind of effort is very important. That is one very important human skill which one should develop. Now, of course, when it comes to building a career, I know this is not a skill which is visible, right? So that is why it's nothing to be like maybe spoken about, but it's very important. Let's say now moving to other skills that are that we have been seeing is that, and it has always been there, is basically creating connections throughout your organizations, right? Because without those, you will not be able to you'll not be able to you'll not be able to be visible in this AI driven market, because your your projects, your core work, for example, a consultant has 8 hours, right? Initially he used to spend 7 hours delivering the work, and 1 hour he can spend doing a business development or doing any other reinvest or building any white paper. Right now what has happened is the delivery is very quick. The delivery is 3-4 hours, right? And you at your disposal you have 4 hours. People tend to spend the 4 hours maybe roaming around or maybe doing other stuff, but that's not how what is recommended. You initially, when you used to do one business development, you should do 4 5 business development. So what I'm trying to say is that instead of that's a human skill. Instead of spending your time doing other things, since you
Mhm.
have AI at your disposal, I think you should get more and more. You should try to reach out to more and more partners or more and more directors and try to help them out doing business development, because I think end of the day, when it's about your career review, your delivery is
Mhm.
obviously important, which is there in 90% of the people. I think the differentiator is basically how much more and more business you get, and that is where it will come from. So I think that's another important human skill. So yeah, I think I talked about two which I think are very important in my opinion. Obviously there are others which everybody is aware of, but these are
Yeah.
some new and striking skills that I've seen.
Absolutely. And I think Ayush may have gotten dropped, maybe inadvertently. So we are just trying to reach him and get him back.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Saurabh, though, what we can maybe focus on is, apart from skills, like, one of the main things that people come to pivot for is support on different types of transitions in their career. Sometimes they are pivoting, meaning they are actually changing their domain or industry, but other times they are just trying to level up their career also, going from IC to managers, above manager, like VP type of roles as well. So in these situations, I think it's very important. Ayush is back. Hey,
Apologies,
Ayush.
guys, something happened.
No worries. You haven't missed much. We were just actually going to the next topic now. So I was just talking to Saurabh about, the fact that at Pivot we support a lot of people with different types of career transitions, whether they are, breaking into a new industry, like going from something
Hmm.
else into consulting, and at the same time, sometimes we are, also helping with leveling up their career from IC to manager and leadership level roles. So what I wanted to understand is in these kind of inflection points that people go through. So let's talk about somebody who's, let's say, changing industries and coming from a different background into consulting. What advice would you give that person from a transition and overall job search perspective? Um, Actually, Ayush, we'll start off with you if you can hear me. I think maybe there is some issue again at Ayush's end. Um, Saurabh, until then, we'll just probably have you go ahead,
Yeah.
and then once Ayush joins back, he can go ahead.
Yeah, I think when it comes to skills, or when it comes to building your resume good for this market that we're trying to look at, uh, I think what's very important is your tech skills, hands down. I mean, there is nothing more important than your tech skills in your portfolio. Now, when it comes to tech skills, I would specifically talk about getting hands on these all AI tools, right? If you're talking about AI, for example, getting hands-on on this AI tools, because I see that a lot of people watch YouTube videos or a lot of people maybe listen to podcasts about AIs, but they don't have hands-on on these tools, right? Which is not the right way to go. So, I mean, there are a lot of free AI tools as well, which you can leverage and try to build an application, for example. Because see, I'm not a coder, for example. I'm not a coder. I've never done coding in my life, but I have built in last 2 3 months. I've built 2 3 applications, which have been saving a lot of time. I've built 4 5 agents using ChatGPT, which have been saving a lot of time for me. So whenever we are in the interview and these questions are asked, I think it's very important that if you are hands on these, it will show up, right?
Hmm.
So I think that is something that you should definitely move your feet at and get your hands on with these tools. So that is one important technical skill that I can really think of now.
No, interesting. We also have a question here from the audience, which is an interesting question. Actually, sort of, we'll take this up, and before we answer this question, for anybody who's joined us today, thank you firstly for joining. But do feel free to share any questions with us in the chat. We can take them up. A lot of you have already asked questions before the session started, so those are also helping us frame my questions to Saurabh and Ayush. But yeah, if you do have any other questions, please feel free to put it in chat and we'll take them up shortly. Right. All right. So with that, I've presented this question on the screen. What do you think is the best model that aligns more with the Indian consulting industry? Is it Anthropic or is it OpenAI? So probably a very common question that comes up, and I'm sure there's a lot of switching that happens as well from time to time. But do you have a sort of experience working with both models to see which one works better?
I do. We have been like Anthropic came a lot later, right? So we have been traditionally using OpenAI models as well. But I would say that comparing these two models is a little bit unfair, because a little bit unfair, and like, at the risk of sounding harsh, I think it's waste of time. The reason is because OpenAI and Anthropic, they are very, they're very competitive firms. If OpenAI comes up with a model, Anthropic will take another month to come up with another model which is better than that, right? But
Yeah.
but I think what we're talking about here, and if I understand the question correctly, Rajat is talking about Indian consulting industry, right? So I think when it comes to our problems, traditionally Claude has been very useful to me in terms of building slides, and but in terms of building Excel models for me. So Anthropic models, for example, the recent Opus, and I think we have been using Opus 8.1 now. So
Mhm.
it has been proving very helpful in terms of building slides and building excels. But when it comes to simple questions, I think we have been traditionally using ChatGPT, so OpenAI, and then that is why I have been accustomed to use that. So the,
Okay.
the thing is that I have fed so much information for my ChatGPT traditionally, I am not
Hmm.
able to get out of it, and I am just lazy to give Claude that kind of information.
Migrate all that context to Claude, basically.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So Ayush is back. Ayush, we'll just quickly get your thoughts on the other question that I had asked Saurabh earlier, which is what do you think people who are, let's say, transitioning from a different industry to consulting, like let's say they might be in financial services, they might be, in startups, what can they do to transition to management consulting? There are a lot of people looking for strategy and tech consulting roles right now. So, are there some best practices or some really impactful things they can do to help make their search or their transition easier?
Okay, I think at least I can talk about European market. What I've seen in the last few years is that companies are expecting more and more uh, process knowledge or system knowledge people. So let's say a lot of years back, consultants were supposed to be generalists, right? They just can enter a project and come up with a strategy drive the project. What more and more I'm seeing right now is people want subject matter experts more. Uh, so, for example, there's a lot of scope in finance, a lot of scope in supply chain, and in those areas, even for implementation of any new technology or even AI, you need to spar with people who have been in that industry for years. So, if you don't have very technical knowledge of the processes or that area, it is becoming difficult for you as a consultant to make them understand why this automation is helpful or why AI is going to make them lives easy. So from that perspective, people who have been in those areas and they are willing to come to management consulting, there is a very good scope for them to bring their industry knowledge, bring their years of experience, and then work as a management consultant to solve the industry issues. On the other hand, people who have been, let's say, in consulting, and because the knowledge is wide, so a lot of companies are also looking for those kind of experts. Let's say in at least in Europe, AI is still a buzzword. A lot of big companies are doing it, but medium to low level companies are still not there yet in terms of having the right data set, having the right environment, having the right practices or the governments and compliance practices before jumping into AI. So if you have a experience as a consultant and you are looking for, let's say, really want to get your hands dirty now and let's say build something of your own, then you can do that. You can at least jump in those companies and start building that practice from scratch. So I think it's happening in both the ways. The migration is happening both ways.
Okay. Okay. Got it. And what I want to follow up with is something that probably is the most asked question by us, by our clients, probably because our focus is entirely on helping them make these kind of transitions happen. So when you're in the middle of this crowded job market, right, a lot of people what they're doing is they're utilizing AI to generate or customize their resumes to prepare for interviews. So everybody, unfortunately or fortunately, they're using the same kind of preparation models now, because for example, let's say I'm applying to a role at a consulting firm. I see the JD, I have my resume, I put in both into Claude, and then I give a prompt. Typically the prompt reads something along the lines of, hey, customize my resume based on this JD, something like that, right? And now a lot of people are doing the same thing. And on the other side, companies are also using AI powered ATS systems and hiring systems, right? So it's kind of like AI meets AI happening on both sides of the
Yep.
aisle. So unfortunately, the response rates have gone significantly down. And what we hear from recruiters and hiring managers frequently is, overall I'm getting much better resumes than before, but I don't believe that the actual work that's been talked about has actually been done, because when we talk to a lot of these candidates, they don't stand up to that level of resume preparation that they have shown. So long story, but my short question to you is, how can one use AI appropriately for job search purposes? What are the areas where you should be looking to leverage AI for job search specifically? And what are the areas which you think people should refrain from using AI, maybe depending more on their judgment, or let's say if they are working with an industry mentor like Saurabh, you, or Ayush, you, what should be prioritized in that regard? Saurabh, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it can be a great help, but definitely I would like, let's go one by one. I think, let's say, searching for job opportunities, that is somewhere where you can definitely take AI's help, right? I mean, one
Mhm.
of my friends, he was just searching for job in a particular location because he got married. So he rather than going through the websites of TCS and Wipros and then trying to see, he just asked AI to pull out a list of job opportunities based on his resume and give him the direct links, and then he could just apply for it. That is number one. I think that is where we should definitely leverage AI. Number two is preparation, right? When you land an interview, I think it's I think AI can help there very much in terms of making you prepared for any kind of job interview. Maybe ask it to create a cheat sheet for you, or maybe ask it to create a crash course for you, or maybe ask it to give it a role of an interviewer and maybe do a one-to-one interview with AI. I mean, now they're capable of having a continuous conversation as well. That's second, right? So basically, we talked about job search, uh, we talked about preparing for the interview. Now the third thing is where I think you touched upon is the CV preparation, right? And I think that's kind of right. And it's not just CV. We have been seeing that when you leverage AI to create decks as well, they all would sound similar, right? And that is why there is a best practice to use AI, wherein we create 4 or 5 versions of the same document. Let's say CV in this case, we create 4 or 5 versions of the CV using 4 or 5 different models, using 4 or 5 different companies, and then we ask the AI to merge it in a more concise way. Now, when it comes to resume, I think it's not about the quantity of points that you write in the resume. It's about the quality, and it's about whether you actually done it or not. Because even if you write great things in your resume and you're not able to defend it, which would obviously be the case, because great things will obviously attract great questions, right?
Mhm.
Now, I definitely know if there's something striking in a resume, I would definitely want to touch upon that point with the candidate.
Yeah.
And if he has not done that, he would not pause and would understand it in a second.
Mm.
So I think that is one way to go about resume. Otherwise, if you can't do that, do not use or do not leverage AI for CV creation.
Mhm.
And I've been like I've been seeing people are using AI through across these 3 steps, and they have been quite successful as well in their career switch or getting a role kind of journey.
Okay. Okay. No, that's very helpful, sort of, I think, very pointed and relevant feedback about, where to use and where not to.
Yeah,
Um, Ayush, are you there with us? I think he might have again dropped off. We have a question here in the meantime. I'll show that question and sort of, I think both of us can share our input on that. So the question is, what approach have you found works to bring consulting to the small business segment? Many small businesses are not even thinking of getting consulting services. And another related question to this is, are there specific small business industries that are easier than others? I'm guessing for consulting to target. Interesting question, actually. Do you have a perspective on this, Saurabh?
yeah, yeah. I think we at PwC we have a growing, very extremely growing practice for small and medium enterprises. And I think the best thing about these companies are that they are all greenfield, right? I mean, for example, you're working for a Swiss firm which was very small. And is he talking about Indian industry? No, right? Yeah. So I mean, we were working with a Swiss client who was very small, and he was totally greenfield. It was easy for us to crack it down with obviously some investments, but later on, when kind of we get good feedback and good kind of I would say results from the client, we can definitely take that as a case study and show it to a
Yeah.
bigger client so that it's useful for us in terms of experience as well. So to answer the question, I think yes, it is very expensive for small businesses to get consulting services from firms like Big Four and Big Threes. But I think Big Three, Big Fours at least, I can say for Big Fours, they are very much interested in tapping on those clients because they have a special industry for they have a special practice for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I also just want to chime in here. I actually, have been in US for some time. We work with certain companies here on their hiring and stuff like that. One of the things we've been hearing is that more and more like consulting firms and larger financial services firms, even, who do like, let's say, investment banking and private equity and those kind of things, even they are planning to get more and more into small business industries. And one of the reasons is that in US at least, there are a lot of small businesses right now which are going to go through succession planning and transitions because the owners are retiring. So that's a big trend. Now these kind of macro trends will vary country by country, right? I'm talking, for example, about US. Saurabh, you talked about Switzerland. India will have its own macro trends as well. So I think the small industry question or small business question is actually something you should look at more from a macro perspective as well. That are there certain tailwinds that might help you target specific sectors within small businesses, um, and that's where you should really figure out how consulting can be a value add. Because otherwise, like Saurabh said, justifying the amount of consulting fees for smaller businesses can be a hard sell internally. But if they see the ROI and you have something that's kind of curated specifically for them, I think that can be very powerful. So in US, it's all about like succession planning. They're thinking about, okay, who should be the next owner, because they don't have internal people taking up that kind of management role or leadership role. So they need like external investments, or they need to sell the business. All right. Ayush, are you there with us?
Yes, I sincerely apologize, but somehow I don't know why my stream is, let's say, crashing out. But hopefully, we have next
Okay.
2 minutes working properly. Apologies for
Yeah,
wasting time.
hopefully, hopefully. So let's maybe just quickly get your thoughts on a couple of things, Ayush, before we move to the next question. So one is this question around what I've shared on my screen. If you can see it, basically,
Yeah,
what approach have you found that works to bring consulting to small business segments? So I think Saurabh shared his perspective and gave an example of how he has been able to do that. Do you have any perspective on this? Like, how can consulting work with small businesses, especially in India?
especially in India. I think the scope is huge, but from the way of from a consulting point of view, when we go to the business, so it should be very realistic. The approach, the delivery roadmap, whatever we as a consulting company proposes to them should be very realistic and also should be very outcome based. I think in that way, there's a bit of fear or a bit of, let's say, pushback from medium to small businesses because they think of consultant as someone who would do some flashy PowerPoints and promise some, flashy dreams, and then it wouldn't be achieved. But then to, let's say, to avoid that, I think the proposal or the roadmap uh, that we give them should be very realistic and on point of what their actual problem is and how is it going to be solved, and what the benefits that they can realize out of the whole initiative.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. And Ayush, was there any points that you want to share around how to leverage AI or not leverage it for job search? We did cover that as well quickly earlier.
So yeah, my only point is for people whoever are creating resumes through AI. The work that they showcase always should show the problem they solved, the platform or the tool they used, and the results they achieved. So, yeah, if you are going to just use companies JD and create multiple points, yeah, so the language can be flashy, but at the end, if you, let's say, clear the uh, entry barrier and go to the interview, it will not make sense. People are looking for value, people are looking for merit, and it's going to show in the first 10 minutes of an interview. So whatever have you done, showcase showcase it in a very proper way. and if you have not done something, I don't know. I'm not a believer on putting fake stuff on your resume. It's just a waste of your time as well as the interviewer's time.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, folks, I think we have covered good ground today. I think we've covered everything from the macro trends to skill requirements to job search and how to make pivots happen. I think we've also shot slightly over our time. So are there any final parting thoughts before we wrap this up? Kind of summarizing perhaps the one most important point that you want our audience to take away from this session. Saurabh, we'll start with you first.
I think one most important point that I think the people listening to this would definitely take for at least they think about it tomorrow is that manual skills would will never go away, right? Even if you are in an AI interview, like in a consulting interview in this AI driven world, the interviewer would always want to know about how logical you think, right? That is the entire thing that he's trying to think about, because today everything can be possible through AI, syntax, Excel formula, but it won't change how you think, because that's how your logic is built. So basically try to be more and more logical, and then try to be try to reach out to more and more people to build great connections, so that helps. I think these are the two more important point that help in this that would help in this AI driven world.
Perfect. I second that, completely agree. Ayush, any thoughts that you would like our audience to take away?
Yes. So I think my thought would be that consulting has never been about technology business. It has always been about problem solving and people business. So consultants, the technology landscape will keep on changing. Couple of years back, it was data analytics. Now it's AI. In future, we don't know what's going to be. The work or the, let's say, mission of a consultant is to understand the client's problem, create a solution, and let's say find value for clients. That's what consultants are paid to do: find value.
Yeah.
So you can use any tool you want. You have to be, of course, relevant with the current market. That's all. That has always been true. But then, yeah, if you know, if you can draw the actual problem of the client, if you can solve the problem of the client, yeah, that's what matters in consulting. Technologies will keep on evolving, but consultants will have to evolve, but they'll never go away.
Perfect. No, I think both of those messages are very, very important, and I'm glad you both highlighted them. All right, folks, with that, we have come to a close for today's session. We want to just thank Ayush and Saurabh for being here, for sharing all its insights and experiences. I think this is a rapidly evolving field, so whatever we can do to get the information experience from the trenches of people who are at the forefront of all of these trends, I think the more it helps our community. So deeply appreciate that. And also for folks who have joined us, thank you for taking out time on your Thursday evening or Thursday morning, wherever you're joining from. I do want to just add one more point before we leave is if you're looking for personalized feedback or support on your transition, do check out our platform, Pivot, which is at mypivot.work. You can talk to folks like Ayush and Saurabh over one-on-one sessions and get much more one-on-one personalized feedback that would not just talk about the general trends, but really specifically how your background and your goals can be achieved in a more effective manner. So that's something that's benefited over 10,000 professionals that we have helped so far, and I hope that you give it a shot as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you again, everybody, for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thanks, Ayush and Saurabh. Um,
Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll get to do this again soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Have a
Thanks.
nice evening,
Bye.
everyone.